a special edition of the Bible Reloaded. I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
So, today we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to make fun of something necessarily like we normally do. Instead, Hugo... Shut up. Hugo, am going to tell you guys a story. Before I do, any thoughts? Any thoughts on this, Jake?
Yeah. While it's not going to be as funny as usual, you might laugh twice, maybe 80 times. Who knows? Who knows how sick you are?
80 times, you fucking pieces of shit. That'd be funny.
If anyone really fucking just cracks up the whole time, fucking tell us, because it's not that funny of a story.
I'd laugh. That'd be great.
For my preface of this, Hugo told me this, a month ago, maybe?
Oh, it was a couple weeks ago.
We'd already been in the middle of this, and we had been talking about things, and I knew it was kind of a thing before, but he hadn't really gone into it that much. And then he told me the story. I'm not going to give anything away. I'll let him do that for you. It gives you an insight into the thought process that goes into a child's mind when brought up in a religious household, especially one like Hugo's. So, without further ado, let's have Hugo just take the main stage here, and he'll tell you a cute little story that I like to call Why Hugo Doesn't Like Salad.
Oh, fuck.
Jesus edition.
Yeah, just put noun in addition after things.
Yeah, I can. I do it often with the titles of our videos.
I've noticed.
Go!
Okay, so as we've mentioned before in the past, I had a religious background, whereas Jake did not. My religious background was somewhat different than a lot of people's. My parents are both religious. My dad was raised Catholic. My mom was raised Christian, but non-denominational. So, in kindergarten, I was placed into a Catholic school where I went for a year, but after that we moved. I was then moved to a Baptist school. Neither of my parents are Baptist, obviously, but they thought that any sort of Christian education...
As long as it's Jesus, it doesn't
Jesus,
matter what they think. It's still the same Arab.
Yeah. Yeah, they kept depicting him as a white guy. I was so confused.
Well.
No, I'm joking. They figured that any Christian education was better than no Christian education at all.
Standard thought process.
Yeah. So what happened was I went there every day, put my little dress shoes, dress pants, dress shirt on.
Cute.
Specific dress code. Everybody in the school, all guys, all dress clothes every day. In high school, had to wear a tie every day. Girls had to wear skirts, no pants, etc. So I went to this school every day for a lot of my childhood, and through that process, I learned how to be a good Christian, quote unquote. And every year would start pretty much the same. We would begin each day with Bible class, and every year it was the same stories over and over and over until we learned them by heart, which to an extent leads us to where we are now, but I digress. So, I had these stories hammered into my head pretty much my entire life up to this point when I was about 6, 7. My favorite story was that was told at the beginning of the year, and that was the story of what heaven was like. And I sat there, and the teacher would explain. They said things like, "Oh, it's a giant infinite place, but it's in the shape of a cube." I don't know where that comes from. Maybe that's in the Bible. Maybe it's something somebody made up at some point at a later date. But they said it was like a giant cube, and the streets were paved with gold. And there was a certain tree. I remember the story. There was a certain tree that gave different fruit for the seasons. Things that don't really make sense by modern standards, but okay, whatever. Suspension of disbelief for the purposes of this. So I believed all of this at 6 or 7. I also believed in Santa, to be fair. I believed wholeheartedly in this idea of heaven, because why wouldn't you? Every adult in my life believed it, and every adult in my life told me that it was, for all intents and purposes, true. So for me, at 6 or 7, it was fact. When you died, your spirit went on to this heaven, or if you didn't come to Jesus, you would go to hell. At this point, I had come to Jesus because in kindergarten, they did a thing where they'd have a prayer at the beginning of certain things, and then they'd say, anybody who hasn't given their life to the Lord, anybody who wants to, you can come up here and we can do it. Think about this as a kindergartner. This is all you've heard your whole life. And they're clearly persuading you. What kind of decision is that to give a person who barely understands how to not poop themselves?
And they did that in class?
Yeah.
That's peer pressure anyways.
Yep.
Okay.
But anyways, so I was a Christian for all intents and purposes. I believed it all, word for word, everything any authority figure told me. So, in my class at the time, we had 12 students. This was a private school. There were 12 students in my grade.
Any girls?
Yeah.
Were they hot?
They're in my mind. They're still 6 or 7. So no.
Just be honest. Are they hot?
I don't know.
Just kidding.
But there are about 12 kids, and even being there was only 12, it astounds me how people still put themselves into groups, regardless of the size. There were 12 kids. I still consider myself part of the out group. I think in part because the students who went there also went to the Wednesday, Sunday services, so they consider themselves kind of a group. They went to the church together, they went to the school together, etc. So me and this other friend of mine, Jacob, different Jacob, by the way, used to have another best friend named Jacob. I was really lonely, and I felt isolated at the time, and I didn't see any way of making things better. At the same time, I was overweight then. I mean, I'm not really healthy now, but then I was chubby, and kids did used to make fun of me for it. So
for the record, he's not a chubber right now. He's just soft.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like a gut.
Nah.
Anyways.
He's
so sexy.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't ever go to any authority figure, any parent, anything, any teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a snapshot of me at 6 or 7. For a 6 or 7-year-old, at least, difficult time. Didn't know where else to turn. Didn't have any authority figure I wanted to go to about this. I don't know why, to be honest. I might have been embarrassed or something. And I think that this is one of 2 lives. This is my life here on Earth, and that there is a life here in heaven. So using my 6 or 7-year-old rationale, I decided, well, why am I spending my time here in this finite unhappiness when I can be in infinite happiness in heaven? So I decided to take upon myself the task of ending my own life at 6 or 7 years old. So if you can imagine this, anybody in your life who is 6 or 7, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, think about them and try and imagine them thinking to themselves they want to kill themselves.
Right.
Can you even imagine it? 6 or 7?
That's fucking crazy. And I know this is like more of a serious story, but people are thinking that you want to like hang yourself at 6 or 7. He'll elaborate. It's not as fucking terrible. It's bad, but it's not like 6-year-old slitting their wrists type thing. It's actually kind of entertaining once he gets into it.
Yeah. So imagine this. I thought no other way out. So what happened was we were also in our science class, ironically enough, in the Christian school. We were going over botany, and we went over poisonous houseplants. I assume the reason for it was because we didn't want kids somehow getting into these and eating them. Fortunately for them, at this time I was trying to kill myself, so I took it upon myself to find these plants at my house. I did happen to have one of the poisonous houseplants, and day after day I would start eating more and more and more. Interesting that I took that route, to be honest. Even if it is poisonous enough, that would pretty much just knock you out to an extent, and then you'd get your stomach pumped. But that's neither here nor there.
I like your critical thinking skills. At 6 or 7 years old, you're like, trial and error already. Like, critically thinking, you're like, well, I could be here where it sucks and here where it's great, and both of them are actually real to you.
Yeah.
Every sane person ever would go to choice B. Yeah. Every time, no matter what. And you're systematically finding out how much plant will accomplish that. It's really, for a scary thing, because we didn't know each other back then, so I didn't really, this didn't affect me at all. For such a kind of like a bad situation, it's so funny to me that you, even then, were analytical in your own demise.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I don't know. So, obviously, as you can probably tell, I'm still alive. We didn't Bruce Willis you. I am not a ghost.
Fucking...
What a good twist!
Wow, M. Night Shyamalan.
But anyways, what happened was I had written a suicide note in sloppy 6 or 7-year-old handwriting. My mom found what was going on. I told her. But even at that time, I didn't tell her the exact reason. I didn't tell her the intent was so I would be necessarily in heaven. She just knew things were going on. And even if I told her now, I don't think she'd believe me, to be totally honest. She'd think it has to do with my atheism. It doesn't. That was genuinely what I thought at the time. I got help, etc. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is to look at the process that went through my mind being brought up specifically in the Christian faith. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of basic economics. Supply versus demand. Everybody who's ever taken Economics 101 will tell you supply goes up, demand goes down. Demand goes up, supply goes down. They're correlated. So, let's say you have a commodity. Let's call this commodity consciousness or life. This life commodity is on the market, and right now we have a finite supply. This finite supply is maybe, let's say, 100 years if you're lucky. So that makes the demand for it very high. It makes it, people value it. It's a valuable commodity because we only get so much and can't get any more.
Right.
Now, this is the mindset of somebody who doesn't think there is a heaven. They value their life and that this is all we have. It's such a valuable time.
Right.
But now let's look at the religious standpoint. Religiously speaking, you have this tiny bit of life that is a blink compared to an infinite amount of life that you've now flooded the market with, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, you've now driven supply way up, theoretically speaking, at least in your own mind. Demand goes way down, so you end up devaluing your own life. Instead of saying, I need to fix things in my own life here on Earth, you might put things off or say, well, what's the point? It's not like I got plenty of time. I'm going to heaven. It's going to be fine. So, obviously this is kind of a micro scenario, me at 6 or 7, but the basic principles stay the same whether you're 6 or 60. You are devaluing your life when you think that this isn't it. When you think that this is just a test, you take it so much less seriously.
I agree. And, I mean, even down to, like, simple things like sex before marriage, which, I mean, if you've had sex, fucking awesome, but, you know, it's not like it has to happen. Like, I don't need to have sex with somebody for a good relationship, but I feel like that's kind of just the course it takes. Or like childbirth before marriage. Some people don't ever want to get married. My favorite college professors got married but don't ever want kids. I mean, it can go either way. It's like, it makes you capsulate your life into this little bubble where I have to serve God so I can get this infinite life where I can do whatever I want and be happy forever. And in this one, I have to make all these sacrifices. And also, in the process, alienate people that don't believe the same thing as you.
Yeah.
I mean, homosexuals have it really bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, in our country right now, it's okay, but that's bad. It's at all, and fucking slavery, and all, it goes all the way back, and now just 6-year-old suicide.
Yeah. A lot of people ask the question of atheists, or even agnostics, whatever, what's your problem with religion whenever maybe you debate someone, whatever. What's so bad about it? I mean, I could go down a laundry list of actions and things that have been motivated in the past by religion. It's a long list. Just Google anything. You can find anything. But I think the worst thing is that it breeds this sort of contemptuous, just ignorance of how fragile and how valuable your life really is. You won the cosmic lottery. You are. That's all I can say about that. You exist as opposed to the fact that you might not. It's such an existential problem, but there it is. You exist, and you're going to only exist for this brief amount of time, and then your consciousness is going to cease because the chemical and electrical processes of your body are going to stop. That is what makes up your consciousness. It'll cease to exist one day. And I think people have a hard time understanding that.
Some people don't want to understand.
I know.
That's the thing.
Not only that, but it just can breed such a contempt for knowledge and learnedness and science and even other social sciences like history. It can make you disregard those in favor of your personal delusions. I don't know. Of all the things religion does, I think the worst is the poisoning of intellectual pursuits and a greater understanding in the truth of the universe that we live in.
I absolutely agree.
Yep, so that's my story of me at 6 or 7 trying to kill myself, trying to get to heaven.
Yeah. One shout out in this episode, even though it's a pocket edition, shout out to Hugo. He's editing this. I don't have to do it. I'm so proud.
Yeah.
But up until this point, all 9 videos that we've uploaded are actually be like fucking 10 or 11 by now. It was all me.
Yeah, good
so
for
a little round of applause for me first. And then fucking Hugo's back in the mix, and he's doing all right. I'm not mad at him, but because he hadn't ever edited anything like that before. But yeah, so if you guys don't like it, let him know because he should do better.
Wow. Okay, so until next time, and I promise I'll be back next time. I won't go.
Don't promise that. Then I gotta fucking come on here. Oh, really bad car accident the other day. Yeah, you're pigeonholing me here. If you fucking die.
I promise I'll be back.
Okay. I promise that I hope he's back.
Alright. Thanks for listening to this personal story of mine. Until next time, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
And this has been The Bible Reloaded.
Personal story edition. I guess.
Science bless.
Playing